Trinadapi sunichena taradava sihishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, klo naskeva naskeva, naskeva gatiranyata. My name is Nirantara Dasa. I was initiated by the ISKCON founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami in April of 1974. And since that time, I have dedicated my life to executing his wishes, his commands, his instructions, and most importantly, to repeat his teachings. I am invited here monthly by this temple to speak on Krishna consciousness. 2 months ago, I was here and I spoke on the first chapter of the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Narada Muni is a Shaktya Avesh avatar, an empowered living entity. He is empowered by Krishna with the potency to preach what is known as Bhakti, defined as devotional, loving service. When I began 2 months ago, the first chapter was entitled The Value of Bhakti. Today, chapter 2, it is called Defining Bhakti. We must know what we mean by this word. In Sanskrit, words can have more than one meaning. The general definition of bhakti, Narada gives elsewhere in his Narada Pantaratra, when he says, Sarva upadi vinirmuktam tat padatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchete. Since Narada is the Bhakti Shakti avatar, his definition of bhakti can be taken as very, very authorized. Indeed, not only is Narada the direct son of Lord Brahma, the creator, but he's also one of the 12 Mahajans. These 12 Mahajans are the authorized personalities to instruct us in Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma means the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sanatan Dharma does not refer to Christian, Muslim, Hindu, no. That is not Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma means the eternal function of the jiva, the living entity, in relationship to God. That eternal dharma, that which sustains the living entity, the living entity's eternal occupation, another way of explaining dharma, your occupation, how you live, how you maintain. Your eternal occupation is bhakti, loving service to God. So Narada says, Sarva upadi vinir muktam. First order of business is to become free from all kinds of material designations. Just as when Krishna begins his instructions of Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, the first thing he tells Arjuna, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are eternal soul. Designations means something other than Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit soul. Any other identification, that is called designation. So, sarva upadi vinir upadi, designation. So, thinking in terms of man, woman, Indian, American, this is called designation. This is temporary. It can change. But eternally, I am what? Servant of God, spirit, soul. So the first item, become free from all temporary material designations. In this life, I may be American, but my next life, I might be something else. This life, I may be Indian, but there's no guarantee my next life is Indian. No, it doesn't work that way. Depends on your activities, your karma. But these things change. So since they're changeable, they're not eternal. They're not the real thing. They're temporary. They're designations. So Narada says, Sarva upadi vinir, become free from all designations. Tat padatvena nirmalam. Step number 2. Situate yourself in a pure living existence. What does that mean? That means to live a life which is sinless. There are 4 pillars of sinful life. Meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, gambling. These 4 pillars form the house of irreligion. So, if you break these 4 pillars, the house of irreligion comes down. In other words, these 4 grievous sins, all other sins are contained. So if you break these 4 pillars of sinful life, then you are living a sinless life. You're living a pure life. A life like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Those who live in the mode of goodness, they gradually go upward. They promote themselves to better and better living situations because of the mode of goodness. If I live in the mode of passion, then I come back again as human being and begin that struggle. I don't get promoted. And if I live in the mode of ignorance, then I go down to the animal species, the insect species, reptile species, plant, aquatic, 8 million types of lower species if I live in the mode of ignorance. The Bhagavad Gita and all Vedic literatures preach that you should try to elevate yourself to a higher standard of existence. That is why the mode of goodness is mandatory. So tat padatvena nirmalam. Free yourself of these gross sinful activities. Sarva upadi vinir muktam tat padatvena nirmalam rishikesha sevanam. So 2 words. Rishikesha, rishikena. So rishikena means with or by your senses. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Manakshashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. This is in the 15th chapter. My dear Arjuna, what is your existential material existence? What is it? You are struggling. Manakshashtan indriyani prakritistat karshati. Your material existential position is you're struggling. What is the struggle? It is with 6 senses. What are those 6 senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and then mind. The sixth sense, the mind. Krishna is pointing out to Arjuna, this is what you're struggling with. Your six senses grouped about the mind. So, Narada says, you have these senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, right? You have, and the mind. Now, with those senses, Rishikesha Sevanam. Rishikesha means the master of the senses. This word, everybody can say, Rishikesha. That's God. That's Krishna. He is the master of the senses. That name appears in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna refers to Krishna as Rishikesha, the master of the senses. And then the word Sevanam. Rishikena, with your senses, you serve the master of the senses. That is Narada's general definition of bhakti. Bhaktir uchate. That is what is defined as bhakti. That is my part 1. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra.